Dr. Stacy, I've worked with a lot of people over the years, and I've come to the conclusion that purpose isn't just discovered, it's practiced.
Dr. John, that's certainly true in my life as well. That's why in episode 6 of Pivot on Purpose, we take time to talk about how purpose shows up in daily habits, in your discipline and ordinary obedience to God's direction.
So, if you've ever wondered how your purpose calling connects to routines, planning, and structure, and this is really where you're very strong, this episode brings purpose down to earth.
This is a good one, Dr. John. So let's get started.
I'm looking forward to it myself. Hi, this is Dr. John Stanko back again for another episode of Pivot on Purpose podcast. All those P's, a lot of P's. And Dr. Stacy Merida, my co-host, my partner, my friend, my protege, another P.
Yes,
That's protege is kind of an entertainment, because protege really, I mean, to me speaks that somebody is shining on their own, has, and you really are. I mean, it's you've taken this and made it what it could be by God's grace and with His help. But I just applaud you, and it's so exciting when you said, "Will you work with me?" I mean, you listen to me, you laugh at my jokes. Of course, I'll work with you, and so. But it's just been a great honor.
No, the honor's all mine. I mean, I think I refer to you as my sensei.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you are definitely my mentor. You have lived this out, and all I can do is follow and try to be just 25% of the good that you've done. I think that would be honorable.
Well, there's plenty out there, a lot of low-hanging fruit. So you're going to harvest many truckloads. And when I stopped putting limits on where I would go and how it was supposed to happen, Africa started calling, Asia started calling, South America started calling. And as we talked in the last episode, I didn't have to make it happen. I don't have a PR person. I don't have a staff. I book my own travel. I never get double booked, and by that I mean I never get asked to be in a place, two places on the same weekend. It just never happens.
Wow.
So people say, "Will you come?" I say, "Yeah." They said, "You want to think about it? You want to pray about it?" I said, "No. I've said I'll go wherever." And so the invitation has come, and very seldom have I had to try and manipulate the camera, or the calendar to where I could had to make a decision of what I was going to do. I was also thinking on our break about some of my work in Kenya. I do a lot of media, a lot of radio, and people call in with questions to talk about their purpose. So one time I was getting an unusual amount of calls from young people who had majored in accounting at the university, and they were calling me to say, "I can't get a job. What can I do?" And so I told them the story of my friend Nigel from Zimbabwe. Nigel was a very brilliant young man, had worked for a lot of banks and in finance, but seemed to wear out his welcome wherever he was. So he was at a crossroads, and I remember talking with him, and I'm not taking full credit for what I'm telling you, but I did have a part in it, and he said, "I just can't get a bank to hire me anymore." And so we talked, and at some point I said, "Well, why don't you start your own bank?" "Well, I can't do that. I mean, I'm in Africa, there are regulations, that's too hard, it's too difficult." But he did.
Great.
He started his own bank. And we talked in the last episode about thinking and about where our thinking limits us. And so there was a limitation. Now he got into hard times and banking in Africa. There are all kinds of challenges, and his country had its own particular set of challenges. But he's gone on from business activity to business activity. He lands on his feet all the time. But the point is that we sometimes think too small. We don't think in terms of the world. We think in terms of our neighborhood. Nothing wrong.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
what is it? Act locally, think globally. Isn't
Mhm.
that the phrase?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a big world out there,
There is.
and there's a lot of need. And our market of listeners in the United States,
Mhm.
we have our own culture, but it's
Sure.
not the same everywhere you
That's
go.
true. That's
And
true.
so, do you look to think one day you're gonna step out of the borders of the U.S. and do
Oh,
more
absolutely.
beyond? Do you? Do you think
I
about
do.
that?
I do because I have a more of a global mindset. You know, it's like love the U.S. We travel within the U.S.,
Sure.
but we travel internationally as
Mm-hmm.
well. And you know, thank goodness with the opportunity to travel with social media, a lot of those borders and those boundaries are down.
Yep.
They're broken down. With
Mm-hmm.
social media, you can easily communicate with people all over the world.
Indeed.
Even with our phone systems, I'm sure you probably remember when you used to pick up the phone and dial it, like literally in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
Now you don't have to do that. We've got
Mm-hmm.
devices now where we can communicate through different apps and talk to someone in a foreign country. So
Mm-hmm.
the accessibility is so great
Yeah.
that there are no borders. So don't think that, oh, well, I can only create this product or provide
Mm-hmm.
this service strictly for maybe my neighborhood when there's a whole world out there.
Yeah. So when you think about traveling, what are what's on your to-do list or your to-travel list? Where would you like to go?
Oh, of course, I have to hit all the continents.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's kind of that bucket list, that checklist to make sure you go.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, make sure they're all safe to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
Mm-hmm.
key. I love water.
Mm.
Water soothes me,
Mm-hmm.
calms me. So I'm always drawn and attracted to having water accessibility
Okay.
right there on the
So
beaches.
islands
Love
or
islands.
mm-hmm.
Yes, beaches,
Okay.
islands, even lakes, but um, definitely. Yeah, and I know a lot of them are surrounded by water, but that just calms me, just the
Mm-hmm.
presence
Mm-hmm.
being there. Um, love the Caribbean,
Mm-hmm.
of course. Love South America. But and my favorite, of course, I was my first international trip was to Italy.
Ah, my
And
wife's
so,
homeland. Yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, yes. And I
Mm-hmm.
have dear friends who live there.
Mm-hmm.
So, Florence,
Yeah.
Tuscany area.
So you're a world citizen. You're not
I am.
intimidated by.
Not at all.
Well, if you're not, then the world, as Shakespeare
It's
said, the world
just,
is your stage. You
it
know,
is.
it's
It
there is
is.
no limit,
No limit.
and you'll have more opportunities than what they say. Where they're saying you have more on your plate than you can say
That you
grace
can eat.
over. You
That's
know,
right. Yeah.
so I again when I in my thinking. When
Mm-hmm.
because people would tell me again, your age, you need to be careful. And listen, I know I'm not. None of us are getting out of here alive. So, but at the same time, as long as I have energy and
Yeah.
opportunity, and the invitations come.
Yeah.
But you mentioned social media,
Yeah.
which I think is just such a powerful entity
Yeah.
that we still tend to think in terms of how to monetize it
Yeah.
as opposed to the bird analogy.
Yeah.
If it's there and you can use it and
Yeah.
it would just do it
Just do it.
and build
Yep.
your following
Yeah.
and it's good practice.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a mentality because what we wanted to talk about purpose is the next P in the next chapter and in what we want to talk about is purpose is practical.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested in your thoughts when we say purpose is practical. What does that say to you? What does it conjure? What image is conjured up, or what do you think of, or what's the outtake? What's the result of purpose being practical?
I think the first word comes to me is people being for it to be accessible.
Yeah. Oh, excellent.
Accessibility, I
Mm-hmm.
think, is the word. It's not so complex that only a few can have access to it. Practicality just means it's accessible for GP, general
Mm-hmm.
public.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone can have
Yeah.
accessibility.
Yeah. And I'll
Yeah.
take it one step forward.
Yeah.
That we're accessible.
Oh, that
I
too.
was in
Yeah.
Barranquilla, Colombia. I was at speaking at the top-rated Christian school in the country, 1,700 students. So they wouldn't let me because they want their students to know English. They would not allow me to use an interpreter. So I spoke. When I finished, I came down and sat on the front row, and there was a 13, 14-year-old came and stood by me and he had a notebook and a pen. I didn't quite catch on immediately, but then I realized, oh, he wants my autograph.
Okay.
So I autographed his book, and then another one came, and then another one came, and the assembly was 400 or 500 people, young people. And so finally one of the teachers came up and wanted to know if I wanted to stop it. And I looked around, and the line was all the way up the center aisle and back. I said, no, I don't think so. I think I want to keep it going,
Yeah.
because if that is meaningful for them, if it will help reinforce the message, they'll remember the man who came and talked to them about purpose. Then I found out that Colombians love to take pictures. So I was down in Medellin a couple of months ago and did a youth conference, 500 people. I could go into the details of how difficult it was, the conditions, the place where we were. But I must have posed for 250
Wow.
pictures, easily half the people. And I, when they say I smiled so much your face hurts,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Now you say, how how is that practical? But I think it fits exactly
It
what
is.
you're saying.
Yeah.
If it doesn't touch people's lives, I'm not interested.
Right.
I'm not,
Right.
and I'm not saying you can't have a purpose that involves animals or environment
Yeah.
or anything like
Yeah.
that. However, I just think 7 billion plus people who have a lot of needs. I think God is going to assign us a purpose that is going to impact other people, that is going to touch them where they live. And that's what I want. And I think that's what you want too.
Absolutely. And I could just say, based on some of my experience in the entertainment industry, you have no idea how much that meant for an individual to have that contact with you. They will remember that for the rest of their lives. And that's something I used to stress to artists, of how important it is that you touch your fan base. You have to. Because one wrong move could literally destroy your career. And now with social media, the negative side of social media is you can do something that ticks somebody off, and now you're going to be the bad person.
Right.
And that can hurt you. So err on the caution of, be exhausted, but give it
Yeah.
all, give it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with signing books. There's
Exactly.
sometimes, you know, I especially in Africa, when I'll do a seminar, I will, at the end of the seminar, give a book away. And for many of the leaders and pastors and others I work with, they don't have a big library, if one at all. So
Yeah.
the book is a big deal.
Sure.
But if they give it out while I'm still there, everybody wants a signature.
Sure,
And
sure.
so, and then I like to personalize it. So
Yeah.
some of the names, you know, I have a Mzungu ear. Mzungu
Yeah.
is Swahili for white person. And so it takes me time to get the name and to write the greeting and to sign it. But I do it for anybody who requests it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's just a gift that I
Sure.
have been given,
Yeah.
that I can connect with them. And I have the school and other things I work with in Kenya have named themselves after me. And some
Yeah.
Americans have, and donors that I've worked with have kind of, why is that? They thought I maybe requested that. I said
Yeah.
I didn't request it. I would just said they could change it tomorrow. It wouldn't
Yeah.
bother me or affect our relationship. But I've said, if my name can help you, then use it. And so I when you're in purpose, you're not your own anymore.
No. You
And
belong to the people.
you belong to the audience,
Yes.
to the constituency, to the group.
Yeah.
So your purpose isn't just what you do, it's who you're doing it with. It could be young women, could be young men, could
Yeah.
be a specific country, could
Yeah.
be a specific people group.
Right.
And so it's who you're doing it with, where you're doing it, all that emerges, is,
Yes.
as we've been talking, becomes clear. It's
Sure.
progressive.
It is.
It that becomes obvious. And if you're not afraid to go embrace that purpose, I had a man come to me, and he was a singer, and I was doing a seminar. He said, "Can I talk to you?" I said, "Sure." He said, "I'm just so upset." I said, "At me?" He said, "No." I said, "Okay." So, okay, we can talk. He said, "I just went someplace. I'm a singer, to another country. I sang every day. I got a standing ovation." He said, "But I come back here, and no doors open, and the opportunities I have, people don't pay attention." He said, "I'm so frustrated."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, are you asking me a question, or are you just looking to relieve? You know, I'm glad to listen."
Yeah.
He said, "No. what does all that mean? I said, oh, you're not going to like what I have to say. I said, but God's showing you where he wants you to sing. If you get a standing ovation there
Mm-hmm.
and people ignore you here, it's a no-brainer
Yeah.
that you have to be singing there.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. Here I want to
Yeah.
do it on my street. I want to do it, and I understand that.
Sure.
But my name, my presence is bigger than in Africa
Yeah.
than it is in my home country.
Sure.
And I have a footprint in my, but
Yeah.
it's bigger there.
Yeah.
So I can walk the streets of Nairobi, which is as busy as New York City, and somebody will know me. I'll have somebody with, they say, oh, you had to pay that person to tell you who you did to say hello. I said, no. I've done enough media here that people know me.
Yeah.
But that's a part of the practicality of it.
That's it.
Not
Yep.
just to talk about it, but if my greatest effectiveness is in Africa, let me tell you one more story too. When I first started working in Africa, I was working through my nonprofit, and Stacy, I was convinced the people in America are going to have to support me to do my work in Africa, because Africa is fill in the blank. Africa is economically,
Can be economically challenged.
they're poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what.
Some areas are
so-
definitely, yeah.
So I start going over there, and I go to Zimbabwe, go to South Africa. People say, how long are you here for? I said, well, 2 weeks. Oh, they say if you were here longer, I'd have you come speak at our customer appreciation, or you do a staff retreat.
Yeah.
So I started to stay 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. And they say, oh, good, you're here, so you can do a speech to our shareholders. And they said, what would you charge? Oh, what do we charge? Oh, I don't know. I said, $1,500 for the speech. And they say, $1,500? They said, nah, the last guy charged us $4,000. They say, $5,000's in the budget, so go ahead and send us an invoice and the bank information for the $5,000, and we'll wire it to your account. My point is, I thought the people in America were going to have to support me to work in Africa. The people in Africa supported me to live in the United States.
There you go.
But
That's
that
practical.
too is
Yeah.
the power of purpose.
Exactly.
That the resources follow
Yes.
wherever you go. Whatever, if you're being true, if you are practically meeting the need that your purpose represents. So if your purpose is mercy, you will go to places where people
They need mercy.
need mercy.
Yes.
Sometimes scoundrels, or sometimes people who are
Yeah.
just down economically
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So your purpose is very often defined by the situation you find yourself
Exactly.
in that is distasteful to
Yep.
you.
Yes.
So you and I like order.
Yeah. So,
So-
what do we get called to? Chaos.
So very often your purpose is defined by where you go that needs who you are. So
Yes.
if your purpose is mercy, you're going to go to
Where people are needing mercy.
and
And it may not look good. It
Yeah.
may not be pretty.
yes, which for a season I was going in and doing prison presentations. And there were some scoundrels and some rascals, but they had chaos.
Yes.
But if somebody had a purpose of mercy, they would be going in and extending mercy to people who some in society say you shouldn't.
Yeah.
So you and I love
We-
order,
We love order.
but where do we find ourselves?
Always in chaotic situations. It's not pretty. Sometimes it doesn't look good or feel good, but that's our purpose. And then, of course, that's what we're going to be attracted to and called to.
Yeah. So I used to see chaos as the enemy that I was to eradicate. I now more see it, probably talking little Zen here or something, but I just see it more as a partner.
Yeah.
And I guess some quantum physics exposure, very basic, just
Yeah.
enough to have a conversation. Let me know that the chaos isn't always bad.
No,
it's
it's not.
potential.
It is.
It is the opportunity that's there. You walk in, as you've shared in one of the podcasts. You see something, and why doesn't everybody see this? We just moved this from here to there. There's a better flow.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so smart. You say, and you are. You're brilliant, and all of us in our purpose shine brightly.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's second nature to us.
It is. That's purpose. Right.
And you can't, and part of the anger can be, why hasn't anybody moved that? Because if it was moved, it would make people's lives better.
Yeah.
People can't even see it.
Because they don't have that particular insight. Their gifts are somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And, as the saying goes, your gift will make room for you.
Mm-hmm.
It really will.
Yep.
Yep.
So another challenge to my thinking is,
Yeah.
where am I looking at something that is limiting me? I've been looking at try to work out Tuesday. Will it work on Tuesday? Wait a minute. Could it be Monday? Could it go over to Wednesday? Suddenly you're seeing more possibilities, creating order out of the potential, out of the chaos, out of the seeming darkness that suddenly shines a very basic light on
Yeah.
it. And now there's another aspect of practicality, and I want to probe you on this. You've alluded to it, that when you are in purpose, you're going to become a leader. Have you found that to be true in your experience? Not necessarily in title, but when you're doing what it is that you do best, people are going to fall in line and follow you. Does that make sense?
It does, because the proof there's that proof part, and your track record speaks for you. And what happens is it builds a level of respect for you. So that's what leadership is about. No, did I have a lot of the titles in leadership? No, I was an assistant, had major projects that I had to accomplish, or coordinator. But a lot of times the VPs will look to me for those particular situations. So it wasn't so much in title, but it was in skill set. And that's what's important. Working through that and building that level of trust where people say, oh, I know who we can go to. We can go to this person. We can ask this individual if they can help us in this, because that's their track record. Yeah. That's being a leader, bringing that to you.
One of the other aspects of practicality, and I want to get your feedback on this, is that, and I think you alluded to it in a previous broadcast, is when you're in your purpose, you're going to be a leader. You're going to be leading in some capacity. Does that make sense? Has that been your experience?
Absolutely, it is. Because what happens is you build a level of trust with individuals based on your performance and your what your experience has been. Your name goes before you. Your successes speak for you. People learn to trust you, and you may not get it in your title, because I was an administrative assistant or a coordinator, but I had VPs who would ask me to manage projects. So I would manage projects because of the skill set that I had, and they knew they could trust me. So that's the true leadership. It's not in the title.
It's not in the title.
It's not. It's about
or
what
where your
you
office
can
is
do.
located.
No.
And
Or your
that's
cubicle.
21st century, where,
It is.
if I need a website, I may know I need a website, but I'm going to have to follow the lead of somebody's purpose, practical purpose,
Yeah.
to take my material, structure it, order it,
Sure.
go through the code and everything else that
Yeah.
needs to be done, design it, the colors and everything, and I got to follow their lead.
Exactly.
So this is the key to what so many people are looking for. They're trying to climb the corporate ladder,
Right.
when we're trying to encourage you to find and climb the purpose ladder,
Purpose
you
ladder.
know,
There you go.
and
Yeah.
get as high on that as you can. It's a rarefied atmosphere. There
Yeah.
aren't many people up there, and it
air
will
is thin.
distinguish in you. Yeah, but it's so exhilarating.
It
You
is.
go to the top of a mountain and you say, "Wow, the
Yeah.
air is so clean and the
It
view
is.
is so good."
Yeah.
Now, I also, and we've just got a few minutes left, but I also think of servant leadership, which is just an important piece of what I teach and what I try to live. Robert Greenleaf, the father of the servant leader message, I was reading his book probably 1998 on a plane. I'm not a big crier, but I'm reading his book and I start to cry. I mean, I cover myself with a blanket. And the reason I cried is that the message was definitely touching me, but I had never heard that message in a church setting where I felt that's where I should have been hearing that. So anyway, I went on to become, I'd like to think, a Robert Greenleaf aficionado, and read just about everything he produced. He was a Quaker, worked for AT&T for 41 years. Then he had his foundation, passed away, and there have been a lot of people who have carried on his message. But one of the things he deals with is power, and the only antidote that he saw for power was service. Servant leadership. And he made the distinction, and can be really hard to understand. I've taught at a graduate level in leadership, and I'm not sure how well I presented this. But he would say, a servant leader isn't a leader who decided to serve. He said a servant leader is a servant who saw the best way they could serve was to lead.
Wow.
What a subtle difference.
Yeah.
And so I've taken and developed it, and we don't have it's not our purpose of our podcast to talk about that. But I would say to people, I'm a power pig. I want as much power as I can get. If I'm a writer, I want to be a powerful writer, because then I can empower you. So I can give that power away, and I haven't lost anything.
Right.
It's still there. In fact, I may have increased my power by giving it away. So I was in a class with, I forget what class it was. I have a retired female African-American policewoman. And I would always have my students write, they had a devotional they had to read, and they had to write their own comments, and they had to read it to the class because they were so afraid. But when their peers started saying, that's really good, or I don't want to follow you, that's so good, it would build up their self-esteem. So Renee her stuff was always brilliant, and I would always comment on how good it was. Then she started to write poetry. I told her how good it was. Then she entered a Martin Luther King Jr. Essay contest and won it. Now she's a published author.
Wow.
She has numerous books. And I'm on her mailing list. I don't always have a chance to read her poetry. But my point is, when I said she was a good writer, I was a writer.
Yeah.
So if you would have said it, she could have said, thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're my friend, or I received. But when I said it, I empowered her. And now to go on and be a writer, that's what I mean by practical. That there are lives touched, that there is a trail of testimonials that emerge, and they don't have to be dramatic.
Right.
They don't have to be what I just described or what you would describe.
Yeah.
And so, does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, because I'm Exhibit A of that. When we got together and we just started talking about, oh, well, we should write a book, and I'm like, I've only written a dissertation. I haven't written a book, and that was hellacious by itself. But you encouraged me and you empowered me, because the validation was when I submitted that manuscript to you, you're like, oh, this is good stuff. So for me, I grew to like 20 feet tall, because it's like coming from you, the writer of writers, that meant the world to me. And so the hesitation, the fear, all of that, it dissipated, because you, as a servant leader, had empowered me and given me power. So, and that's the practicality of it.
No money changed hands.
Absolutely not.
No
contracts,
no
nothing.
contracts
No,
to
just emails.
be negotiated. Just relationship.
That's it.
And the opportunity to empower. And I know you'll be a good steward of that, and you want to do the same thing for other people.
Absolutely.
So now we're back to the accessibility.
Yeah.
Now you can't put a spiritual or personality burqa over you.
Right.
You've got to
You got to give
manifest.
it out.
You got to show forth who you are. You're
Yeah.
part of the package, and same kind of situations will happen to you. And to me, that's addictive.
It is.
To me, that's just, if I don't have that, then
What
why
do you
am I
have?
doing?
Right.
So that's why I pay
Right.
attention to the likes. That's why I
Yes.
pay attention to the comments, because is it practical? Is it or am I just strutting my stuff? Or am I just tooting my own horn? Or am I on a little ego trip or a narcissistic journey? I want that. I want to be impacting people.
Yeah.
And here we are, I hope,
I do
impacting a
too.
whole lot of people
Yeah.
too. Stacy, this is good stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, I always feel like it ends too soon. But the good news is
We'll be back.
we'll be back.
All right.
So we look forward to seeing you then. Until then, you be about the work of purpose in your own life. So long for now.